Today is Tuesday, February 25th, 2020. My name is Edna Sussman. I'm a reference librarian here at the Half Hollow Hills Community Library in Dix Hills, New York. We're interviewing Jack R. Hayne, a World War II and Korean Army veteran, as part of our Veterans Testimonial Project and in collaboration with the Library of Congress's Veterans History Project. Thank you so much, Jack, for your service and for participating in our project today. Jack, where and when were you born?
I was born in Brooklyn, New York, 1924.
And who were your parents, their names, and what did they do, their occupations?
My mother was Regina Hayne, and she was a housewife. Mm-hmm. My father was Samuel Hayne, and he was a waiter near Madison Square Garden.
Okay. And did you have any siblings? What were their names and genders?
Yes, I had two sisters. I was the baby of the family.
Okay.
One was born 14 years before me. Mm-hmm. The other one was born 10 years before me. My older sister was Hannah Granick. Mm-hmm. She married Theodore Granick, who hosted the American Forum of the Year on television. My sister, Minnie, loved to be called Minerva. She went to the same high school as I went to. Mm-hmm. And she married Joseph Mandelson, who was a scientist. Both my older sister's husband and my younger sister's husbands. The older one's husband was in Who's Who in America, and the other brother-in-law,
right,
was Who's Who in Science Today.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Pretty outstanding family you had.
Yeah.
So what were you doing before you entered the service? Did any of your sisters enter the service?
No, I was first to be in the service.
Okay. So what were you doing before you entered the service?
Before I went into service, I was working at Aberdeen Proving Grounds as a machinist apprentice. That was for 14 months.
And where was that?
Aberdeen Proving Grounds is a little bit north of Baltimore.
In Maryland, okay.
And at 17 and a half, going on 18, I was testing tanks.
Wow.
And also making weapons for the ordnance.
How did you? Were you still in high school or after high school?
No, this was right after graduation day. I went down to Maryland. I took an examination to become a machinist apprentice, mm-hmm. and I worked for 14 months as a machinist apprentice at 40 cents an hour. I figured I was worth more than 40 cents an hour.
Wow.
So I went to Glenn Martin Company outside of Baltimore, and they were making Navy planes. And I got a job there. And
now, your family still was in New York?
Pardon me?
Your family lived in New York?
Yes. And I was living...
Why did you go to Maryland?
Because that's where the work was.
Ah.
Okay. So I...
Sorry, I interrupted you.
That's okay. So I started work at Glenn Martin Company as a machinist helper. Mm. Okay. The second night I was there, the machine operator didn't come into work because he was drafted, so I took over. And I put out 3 times as much material that he had been doing in the past. So the next night, I worked from 11:30 until 7:15 in the morning. I came in, and the plant supervisor was there, the Navy inspector, the Glenn Martin inspector, the time study engineer, Bud Lucott. Everybody was there checking all the material that I worked on to make sure that they were with 5/1000ths of an inch, and they were complaining it was within 1,000th of an inch. So I'm wondering what's going on. So they said, "Where's Bill Phillips?" I said, "He was drafted." "Well, who did this?" "I did it." Uh-oh. So they rechecked the stuff, finally, they gave me the machine, and for 6, 7 months after that, I got a nickel raise per hour every month.
Wow, good for you.
Then
Wow.
I was drafted.
Okay, so you were drafted into the Army, and what year was that, 1943?
1943, yes. May 4th, I think it was.
And what happened when you departed for training camp? Where did you go, and how was early training?
Well, from Whitehall Street, I reported into Fort Dix. Okay. But if you get to Fort Dix, they send you elsewhere. Okay. So they sent me to Fort Totten, Bayside, Long Island. And I ended up being a clerk on the general staff. And
But how was the training? How long was the basic training?
I don't exactly remember. I was there until September. Actually, late August, September of 1943. So that was about 3-4 months.
What was it like, the training? How, living in the barracks?
They had 40-millimeter guns, which I was familiar with because I worked on them at Aberdeen Proving Grounds as a civilian. So every time they had a test, I got a maximum grade. I would get a 3-day pass, a weekend pass to go in. They had aircraft recognition. They would flash pictures of aircraft, and you had to identify them. I took a test. I maxed it. I got called in by the battery commander, and he starts to chew me up.
Why?
For cheating on the examination. And I let him run the course, and then when he got all done, you have anything to say for yourself, Private Hayne? Well, sir, when I worked night shift at Glen Martin Company, I would come home and I would take duty on top of a hill behind the house, which had a little shack, and I would watch for aircraft. When I saw an aircraft, I picked up the telephone, I called into the air raid warning section in Baltimore and tell them it's a multi-engine aircraft, a single-engine aircraft, flying high, low, and I knew all the aircraft, so I had no problem.
Wow.
He excused me.
He believed you.
He believed me.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
Wow.
But anyway, I took training on the 40-millimeter and the 90-millimeter, which I was very familiar with.
Okay. And what were your feelings about the Army and the living conditions and the food and the barracks? How did you adjust to that?
I had absolutely no problem. It wasn't my mother's cooking. Actually, I didn't particularly care for my mother's cooking. She made me eat oatmeal every morning. Every morning. And I really hate oatmeal. So she'd try Ovaltine, then she'd try something else. And Ralston's didn't work. I hated it. So after my wife and I got married, my mother was visiting. It was a cold winter day, and I'm having dry cereal. And my mother says to Pearl, "How come you're serving dry cereal? It's wintertime. Give them hot oatmeal." So my wife said, "Go ahead, tell your mother." So I told my mother, I said, "Mom, I haven't eaten oatmeal since I left home in 1941.
What did she say?
She laughed.
That's good. So you didn't mind the food or the living quarters?
Oh, I didn't mind the food in the service. I just didn't eat the oatmeal.
Okay.
Everything else, pancakes, even pork chops.
Really? Were you kosher before you went in? Did you?
We were absolutely kosher.
Ah.
My mother would put newspaper on the kitchen table and say, "Jack, go to Romano's and get a cheese pizza." So I go to Romano's, and that would go on top of the newspaper. God forbid it should be on the regular table.
Right.
So,
wow. So was that
but that's as far as we went.
Okay.
We were kosher. Even when I went to visit Joe Contento and his family, they always had something that I could eat.
Okay. And in the service, what did you do then?
I ate everything.
Good. Well, that's...
except oatmeal.
Except oatmeal. That's good. Do you remember your instructors? What were they like?
Yes, I don't remember his name. He was Polish. He was regular Army, and he showed me how to make my bed in the Army with hospital quarters
Okay,
at Fort Taunton. He
nice.
was very, very good.
And did you,
And I remember one other person, Major Bronkhorst, down at Fort Benning, Georgia. He gave bayonet instruction. And if you look at the bayonet instruction manual for the Army, which is back in 1941 manual, there's a sketch of a man holding a bayonet up, and it looks just like Major Bronkhorst.
really?
But he was a sergeant at that time.
Wow. So after your basic training, did you receive specialized training?
Not until I met the aide-de-camp to General Jarman at Fort Taunton. He was getting a haircut, and we got to talking. And he said, we would like to send you to OCS down at Camp Stewart. And I said, oh. He said, you go to OCS, and after 18 months, you'll come back as a second lieutenant to our headquarters.
Wow.
I said, that sounds good. He says, of course, there's something else.
Oh.
It's called the ASTP program, Army Specialized Training Program. You go take tests, and you go to college. You study for, OCS was 3 months. Okay, you became a second lieutenant. You go to ASTP, it's 18 months. You go to a college, and you get an engineering course, mathematics, all that kind of stuff. And then you become a second lieutenant. I said, gee, that sounds good. So he said, okay, we'll put you in for that. So I went to City College. I took tests. Now, I took a commercial course in high school, so I didn't have algebra, geometry. So I was having a problem. But I did so well in all my exams, IQ and stuff. I think I had like 129 to 130 something in the IQ, and mechanical aptitude was way up at like 150, something like that. So the psychologist said, you know what, normally I wouldn't pick someone like you to go to college, but your scores are so consistent, I'm going to recommend you.
Nice.
Where do you think they sent me? They sent me to Pennsylvania Military College. No girls.
Oh, my.
My friend Matt Lampel, he went to Vassar.
It was all women
Lots
then.
of girls.
Yeah.
And Erwin Diamond, Sheldon Sprung, and Bernie Feidelman, a.k.a. Fox, went to Pennsylvania Military College, and I ended up rooming with them.
Nice. So was that actually how long did you stay in Pennsylvania at the school?
The program folded. They needed warm bodies in the infantry. So I ended up at Indiantown Gap in the 95th Infantry Division, but in the artillery.
So how long were you in school there?
It was like 6 months.
Oh, gee. So so you then went to the infantry, artillery.
Well, yes, the artillery in the 95th Infantry Division.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in Pennsylvania?
Yes, and I trained with them. We went to the mountains in Maryland, West Virginia, climbing mountains, and then got orders. No, didn't get orders. They reassigned me. They sent me to the 89th Infantry Division.
Where was that?
Camp Butler, North Carolina, near Durham, North Carolina. So then they got orders to go to some camp in Massachusetts, port of embarkation, and they ended up going to England. I was left behind. All my clothing, equipment, and everything was still in a footlocker on our way to Europe.
Oh, gee.
So I had to get new clothing.
How come you were left behind?
Pardon me?
How come you were left behind?
They needed people in the 89th Division, so they sent me there
Oh, but you were
to the
scheduled.
artillery.
You were scheduled to go to England.
The organization, yes, but they transferred people from the 89th Division, from the 95th Division, with the overages, and sent them
Oh,
down
Okay.
there to the 89th.
And how long did you stay there?
Well, while I was there, I got an appointment to West Point. So
So you weren't, for your World War II service, you didn't serve abroad,
I was
stateside?
stateside.
Yeah.
And from there, I went down to Fort Benning, Georgia.
Okay. And so in 43, you started in, or what year did you start in West Point?
1945,
45.
July 2nd.
That was before the end of the war.
Right. And during our basic training or beast barracks, where they make it very difficult for you, it was August 14th. We were on a night problem, I remember. I was originally in the class of 1948. Okay, of course, during the war, the classes were 3 years,
Oh.
not 4 years. So here we are on this night problem, trying to get our night vision in the dark or what have you.
At West Point?
Yes.
Okay.
And someone came up and said that the war with Japan is over. They dropped the bomb on Japan August 14th. Okay, the war is over. So
How did you feel, what was the reaction? How did you feel when that happened?
I was glad it was over.
I mean, ultimately, you might have been sent had it not ended, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
To the Pacific. When the program folded at Pennsylvania Military College, I got on the telephone and I called Fort Totten and I got Major McCormick and I said, the bad penny has turned up. I said, the program folded, I'd like to come back to the organization. He said, can't, we're moving. I said, I don't care if you're moving, I'll find you. Where am I? He said, you won't be able to find us. It turned out they went to California and they ended up in New Guinea.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so,
So maybe it's better you didn't follow them.
right.
Yeah. So then you stayed, when did you graduate from West Point? What year?
I graduated in 1949.
And what,
We were married the first, on graduation day.
1949, at West Point?
Yes. I can't-
Nice.
What day did I graduate? That's a good question.
But it was in 49, probably in May or June, right?
It was Tuesday, June 7th.
Okay,
That's the day we got married. How can I forget?
nice. And so what happened after that? What did you
We
do?
went to Fort Riley, Kansas. We ended up living in a basement apartment, which was very nice because the owner of the house owned Johnson Furniture Company. So we had good stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you were near a base, or you were still in the military?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So what did,
My service was continuous
Right.
from when I was drafted till I retired.
so did they send you to Kansas? Is that where you said you went?
Kansas, Fort Riley, Kansas.
And what were you doing there?
We went to what's called the Ground General School. It's general training for new second lieutenants and what it's like to be in the service.
Okay.
And that ran from August until around Christmas time.
Okay,
Okay. And then we got orders to go to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. We went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
to do
And
what?
that was artillery training.
Okay,
And after the artillery training, we lived above a garage. Initially, we found an apartment, and it was a long railroad type house. And the mattress was very nice, so we went to turn it over, and the bottom of the mattress was ripped.
oh,
So we moved out as fast as we could. We found a very, very nice apartment above a garage. It was nice. The training was good in field artillery.
How long were you there? Ooh, that's your phone. That's your phone.
Is that mine?
Yeah. I just hit declined. Can I turn the sound off?
Yes.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. It's working.
It's working. No, it charged up.
Oh, okay.
So how long were you, what state was this again?
Oklahoma.
Okay, so how long were you there and what else did you
Then
do
we had
there?
to go to Fort Bliss.
Oh, wow.
So we went to Fort Bliss. It was wintertime. And we got there, and that's where I had my anti-aircraft training.
Now, what did that involve?
Pardon me?
What did that involve?
Learning about 90 millimeter guns, 40 millimeter guns, 120 millimeter guns, shooting down airplanes.
And how long were you learning all that? How long were you there in Oklahoma?
Until it was time to go overseas. Oh, wait. Boy, where am I located?
Oklahoma, you said.
Yeah. Okay.
So what,
We're down in Fort Bliss, Texas, yes.
oh, Texas.
Texas.
So when were you shipped out to, when did you go overseas?
Well, I had vacation or leave, furlough, and we went back to New York. And then I was told by someone from First Army, they said, Jack, your wife isn't going to accompany you to Japan. My orders were to Japan.
Japan.
Your wife is not going to accompany you. You're going to be going to Korea.
Wow.
So I flew out to California, not to California, to the state of Washington. Got on an airplane with friends of mine, and we flew up to Alaska. Then we flew to Shemya, a small 1 mile by 3 mile island in the Aleutian chain, and then to Japan. And from Japan, we were assigned to Korea.
What year was that?
1950.
50. So the Korean War was going on at that point?
Yes, it started June 25th, 1950.
50. So where did you end up in Korea? At an army base in South Korea? Or?
Well, yes, in South Korea, landed at Busan, which is the base, and moved up to Daegu. The battery commander said I was to stay behind and bring up the rear with the supply train and the jeeps. Our vehicles were extremely old from World War II. So I came up about 3 days late. And we took over at K2 Air Base. And we were at K2 Air Base until getting close to September. September 15th was the Incheon invasion. Okay, so we broke out Incheon invasion, and my unit went up to the capital city of Seoul. Okay, when I got there, there were no bridges to Seoul except a pontoon bridge. So we took the pontoon bridge up into the city of Seoul. And I was surprised to see a wrought iron fence when I got up there. And in gold letters on the top, it said, House of Israel. And I said, my God, I found some lost Jews up here.
In Korea.
I found out later on.
What was that?
It's customary for Korean churches to use the Old Testament
Really?
to describe things.
Wow.
So anyway, I set up a command post, and I set up my gun positions.
Like how many were you? You had a group under you.
My platoon had something in the order of 30 some odd people, maybe 40. So I set up a gun position at the Capitol, okay, building. One other gun I set up around President Sigmund Rhee's quarters, which is called the Blue House. Like we have a White House,
Oh,
he
I
has a
see.
Blue House.
To protect him, you
Yes.
mean?
And then I set up my other gun positions at 8th Army and 5th Air Force headquarters at the Seoul Hospital and at the Seoul University headquarters for the 8th Army and 5th Air Force headquarters.
How did you do that? They weren't all right near each other, were they? Near each other, all these
They were
positions?
across the street from each other.
Oh, they were?
Yes.
So how many men did you assign to each? I mean, how big a group was protecting each place?
5 people per gun squad.
Oh, I see.
So I had 4 gun squads. So,
So this was to protect those establishments?
yes.
Okay, so tell me more about, what did you experience in Korea? What kind of combat situations did you see?
Well, these were anti-aircraft guns, and the North Koreans did not have any aircraft to speak of.
Oh,
So we used for ground, engaging targets on the ground. I went all the way up almost to the Yellow River and back, didn't see anything.
is that in North Korea?
In North Korea, all the way up through North Korea, almost to the Chinese border. Then the Chinese came in on on November 26th and chased us all the way back.
Was that still in 1950?
1950, yes.
And chased you back? Did you lose any men
I
at
ended
that?
up all the way back
Oh.
in Taegu again this time.
Were they like attacking your group? Were they attacking you or?
No, I got out before they were attacking.
Oh, okay.
I came down one road on the west of a mountain range. The 2nd Division came down one road on the east of the mountain division, just over the mountains from us. They were ambushed.
Oh,
They lost maybe 4,000 people.
well, this was a Korean troop or an American troop?
No, Americans
Wow.
in the 2nd Division. I met a classmate of mine up there, and he had combat experience before I even got there. He got there before me, was wounded, was back in Japan, and then he was back in his outfit again.
In Korea?
Yes.
Wow. Were you injured?
Yes, I ended up in the hospital. The steering linkage on my Jeep broke and went off a cliff,
Ooh,
and I dislocated my knee. Ended up in the hospital.
in Korea.
Yes.
How long were you laid up?
I was in there maybe for about 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks, and they got a new orthopedic surgeon in, and the one who was treating me was demonstrating what to do, checking knees to the new surgeon. So he has me lay on my stomach with my leg like this, see, and then he puts weight on it, and he puts it, I
Oh, my
raised up
God.
like that.
Why was he
He
doing
said-
that?
Did that happen before? I said, you never did that before. He said, well, if I had, I would have sent you to the 121st Evac Hospital and sent you back to Korea. But now I'm going to send you back to active duty
Oh, my gosh.
because I was okay.
You were okay. Wow. That must have hurt like the Dickens. It must have hurt a lot.
It hurt, yes.
So you went back. What other? You seemed to be in the front lines a lot of the time.
Yes.
Well, tell us about that.
Okay. Well, first of all, my troops were black. It was a black outfit. So, 1948, President Truman said integrate.
Okay.
Well, here was 1950, and my battalion, the 76th Battalion, 933rd, the Triple Nickel, and a couple of others were not integrated. So it was a black outfit.
And you were in charge of it.
Yes.
Did you have any issues? Was there any problems?
They were good. except when we were back in the reserve, okay, there was a problem with narcotics.
Huh.
And I started performing shakedowns to check their equipment, and I would find narcotics. And I always carried in my breast pocket Marquis solution, which is to test for opium or an opium derivative. As soon as I tested positive, take them to the stockade, turn the evidence over to the Criminal Investigation Division and to the, like the Attorney General.
Okay.
And we'd have court-martials,
Gee.
get rid of some of the people.
Was that easier to get over there? Is that why that happened? Was it easier to get the drugs over there?
Very easy.
Oh.
I think that the communists, maybe the North Korean infiltrators, were trying to affect our efficiency, I guess.
Sure, maybe.
Okay. I wrote a 12-page narcotics problem in our battalion, 12 pages.
What happened once, did those soldiers then get discharged from the Army, or did they stay in?
I recommended that they send them to this place down in Texas for narcotics addiction.
Ah,
Can't remember the name, but it's in the last page of my my study on narcotics.
but they didn't join you back again? They didn't join your group?
Oh, no, they were gone.
Gone. So what sort of,
There was less of homosexuality, too. Now, remember,
less?
homosexuality.
You're right.
Say, at that time in the service, there was an article where homosexuality, lewd and lascivious behavior.
Right.
Okay. So I would find people in bed together.
Oh, my
Okay?
gosh.
And it was summertime. Wintertime, I can understand you want to keep warm.
Right.
Summertime. So I would prefer charges. And
Wow. That's
it was a
hard.
problem.
It's a problem.
yes. If you want, I'll send you a copy of that study.
Okay. So what about day to day, and how did your day go with, fighting over there? What did you do?
Well, like I said before, this is long range. I know after I spent a year in the black outfit, they transferred me to a white outfit. And
Still in Korea?
Yes. And I wished that I was back in the black outfit
Why is that?
because there was so much backstabbing in the white outfit.
Wow.
Truly.
Really?
Okay.
Wow.
So anyway, in the white outfit, on my last mission, I went up on the Kimpo Peninsula, which is where the Han River goes into the Japanese Sea, okay, or the China Sea. And I, using my 40 millimeter and my 50 caliber machine guns, quad 50s, 4 50 caliber machine guns firing, I would fire across the Han River at the pillboxes and caves.
What's a
inside the
pillbox?
caves. Pardon me?
What's a pillbox?
Pillbox is like a concrete box with an opening where they could shoot back at you.
Oh, and
So I would fire into the pillbox, and also in the caves, I fire into the caves. And then with my 50 caliber machine gun, and I had maps of the area, so I saw that there was an opening in the other stuff, and I was in communication with the Marine observation post, and he said that Hill 86, between where I was and Hill 86, on the other side was an ammunition dump, and people are moving ammunition. So I was able to line up my 50 caliber machine gun. I had the firing tables, and I had a gunner's quadrant so I could get proper angle, and I fired over the top as if this was field artillery, and it's not. And the bullets now are coming. You could see the traces as they're coming to the top of the mountain, going over the mountain and down. And he's telling me that there are people falling down, running around and falling down. So apparently I was able to get some of the enemy. Those were Chinese there.
they were Chinese?
Yes.
not North Koreans.
Oh, well, they could have been North Koreans.
Okay.
They could have been both, because the Chinese were there supporting them.
Yeah.
So
Wow, that's pretty far. How, the weapons reached that
it
far?
was about 5,000 yards, which is almost to the end of the range for the tracers.
So you and your group were firing across to them.
Yes.
Did you get fired upon also?
No, we had to get out of there.
Ah,
We had to get out of there. So we go to start up. Remember, this is wintertime.
right.
Okay? This is February. Okay. We go to start. We can't start our engines. My orders to the drivers in the platoon is you keep gas in full all the time. Well, a couple of times they let it get down too low, and there was water condensation in there. So I happened to have a hose from my tent oven, okay, and we disconnected the line from the gas tank from the carburetor, from the fuel pump, and we plugged it right directly into the carburetor. We were able to start and get out of there. We got a quarter mile down the road, and North Korean mortar shells were landing where we were.
Oh, my God. So everyone got out all right? Or
Oh, yeah, sure, no problem.
did you have
That's as close as I got to.
danger? Well,
Danger.
being in real trouble. Did you lose some men while you in your platoons?
One for malingering, he shot himself in the foot. Another one shot himself in the shoulder, the meaty portion of the shoulder.
But not from enemy fire?
No.
Wow, it's good leadership.
Well, wait a second. We were ambushed one time
Now, where was that?
on the way from Taegu. This is well after the Chinese came in, and we were going out to Yongdong-po, okay, and which was a port city, and we got ambushed. They came down.
These were
ambushed, and
Koreans or Chinese?
I lost the vehicle,
Oh,
and one man got wounded.
but no one was killed.
No.
So your platoon was able to stand up against the enemy fire?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, up in North Korea, when we leave in North Korea, someone started a rumor that if you don't have your vehicle, okay, they'll fly you out, because we were at an air base, okay? So what they did, they poured water in where the half-track was, the vehicle, so it froze overnight. And then they raced the engine, let out the clutch, and broke the shear pin in the transmission.
What was the goal?
So now it couldn't move.
Oh,
So what I did, I had other half tracks we had to tow them. We towed them out, dropped the vehicle off at the ordnance, and that was it.
but, so how long did you stay, were you in Korea? Period of time?
21 months.
Wow. And you don't go home in between? Once you're there, you're there?
No.
So,
Well, I got R&R. I could go back to Japan for,
oh, you did?
yes. So I got back there for Passover
Oh, nice.
and went to services and met a importer-exporter named Wagner, and went to his home, and
For-
we had a very, very nice meal.
For Passover or
Yes,
Seder?
yes.
Nice. So occasionally you had time off and you
Yes.
went to Japan. That was
Yes,
safe.
yes.
Yeah. How did you feel when you witnessed, you probably saw destruction over there? And you saw,
Very sad for the people, because they were hardworking people. In Seoul, there was only maybe 2 or 3 buildings that were over 2 or 3 stories high. The rest of them were leveled.
so a lot of destruction.
Yeah,
What about casualties? Did you see a lot of,
millions.
Were the soldiers or the
Well,
civilians?
for the Korean War, there were like a million Korean casualties.
Civilians, or not?
Yes, civilian and army,
Korean Army,
yes.
wow.
And we lost a lot. We had 37,000 casualties in Korea.
But in your unit, in your platoon, you didn't lose anyone?
No.
Wow. What kind of friendships and camaraderie did you form while you were in the service?
Well, my assistant platoon leaders, one was got a ROTC commission from Princeton. The other one had an ROTC commission from some college. I don't remember which college. I think it's a black college near Washington, D.C. They were very, very nice, but I haven't communicated with them.
No.
The other platoon, I didn't care for them, particularly one person named Porter. Okay, I didn't like him at all. Say, when we were way up in North Korea, I was moving away from where I had a house. Okay, and I saw a railroad to the side and a freight car. The door was open. The man was standing there. So I went up. I said, "What's going on?" He had a cash register. It was a PX card. He had this crate. I said, "What's that?" He said, "Cigarettes." He said, "I've got cigarettes." I said, "What kind?" He says, "What do you want?" So I said, "Do you have Camels, Lucky Strike, and Chesterfields?" He said, "Yes." How many in the case? He said, 50 cartons in a case. That's $1 a carton. So I had enough money. Okay, what, $150?
Wow.
Shelled it out, put it in my Jeep, went back, and I gave to the first sergeant. I gave not the Lucky Strike, the Camels.
Okay.
To my platoon sergeant, Sergeant Morris, I gave him the Lucky Strike because I smoke Lucky Strike.
Oh, you smoked also?
Oh, did I smoke?
Really?
I smoked cigars, everything. And then the Chesterfields I gave to the other platoon, to Porter. Okay. All right. We move out. We get back where we were supposed to be, down south. I've got all the stuff. He comes to me at my headquarters, Porter does, and he said, my men would rather quit smoking than smoke Chesterfields.
Oh.
So he gives me everything back, plus $2, okay, because someone smoked Chesterfields, okay. So I hid them. About a month later, he comes up, he says, "You have any cigarettes?" I said, "No." He said, "Oh." I said, "I have Chesterfields." "How much do you want a carton?" I said, $1 a carton. So I was able to calm them off
Oh,
on him.
jeez. Wow. A lot of smoking going on.
Oh, yeah. I smoke cigars too, pipes.
Wow. What were your duties when you were the leader of the platoon, right? But what
Well, no, after a year with the organization, they sent me to this white outfit, okay, and I became, okay. When I was with the black outfit, they made me headquarters battery commander. Okay, so I had to take care of the colonel and everybody else and the food. So I was the mess sergeant, I was the mess officer, supply officer. I did everything because I didn't have any assistants.
a lot of responsibility.
Yes, and I refused to sign for the equipment because the supply book, the serial numbers of the vehicles, the trucks and stuff, did not correspond to what was in the
book.
the book on the vehicles, okay? I refused to sign. I mean, what happened, someone would steal the vehicles, so our people would, one of our vehicles, so our people would go out and steal a vehicle from somebody else, okay? So I said I refused to sign, so they brought somebody in from another organization to take over. He was very, very good. Wilbur A. Rollins. He was black. He was very, very, very good.
But then what were you supposed to do? You had enough other duties?
Well, then I was the one to get rid of the narcotics addicts and the homosexuals.
Wow.
And,
Did you stay in touch with family and friends back home? How did you do that?
oh, by letter,
By letter?
yes.
And you got letters back?
Every day I wrote a letter,
Nice.
and I numbered them. So,
And you got letters back?
yes.
When you were off duty there, what did you do when you went to Japan or when you were off duty?
Well, when I got to Japan, I went out to the Tokyo PX, okay? And I had steak, and I had lobster, and I had shrimp for breakfast, for lunch.
Nice.
And,
Good.
and after a short period of time, I started eating properly,
Oh, okay.
okay? And went to services. My classmate Dean McCarran went with me, so we both stayed together at the Prince Shimazu estate, which was a nice place
This is in Japan?
in Japan.
So anything else about your wartime service that we didn't cover when you were in Korea? Anything else you can think of?
Well, when I was in the city of Seoul, Kim Jong-koo was my houseboy and interpreter. I said I haven't had a bath because I was washing the steel helmet and stuff for a couple of months now. So he made arrangements. Early in the morning, we would go to a Korean bathhouse, and I would be the only one there. And they had an 8-foot by 8-foot by 4.5-foot
Tub like?
tub, okay? And you take the water from that, and you'd soap up, and you wash and clean. They provided a washcloth and everything. And you rinsed off, and then you got into the tub up to here, over here. And I happened to be near the wall. It's a beautiful tile wall. Everything was tile. And my foot, there's no wall underneath the water.
Oh.
Down, about a foot and a half from the floor. So I stick a foot, and I feel a foot. And then the top of the wall, we hear giggling. I said, what's going on? He said, the women are on the other side of the wall.
Oh, geez.
So they thought I was playing footsie with
Oh,
them.
my God. That's funny. That's funny.
That's as close as I got to a woman.
Wow. Anything else about the...
Oh, another thing.
Yeah.
At the Rail Transportation Center in Taegu, there's a toilet. This is the station. There's a toilet, okay, the entrance, and then there's a brick wall in front of it. So it said men, said women, okay? So I went around on the men's side, and I went in. Okay. Didn't say men or women. Okay, I went in. I'm standing there, okay. There's a trough on the floor, tile wall. I hear rustling of clothing. I take a look, and there's a Korean woman. And, the Korean pants is a flap in the back. So she opens the flap and squats down next to me.
Oh,
I
God.
mean, what's going on here?
Yeah, yeah. That's normal.
No, okay. We had 4 LSTs to take our battalion from Yokohama to Korea.
What's that
through the-
stand for again? LST?
LST is landing ship tank,
Okay.
big. So our battalion in these four, and we go through the Shimonoseki Straits to Busan. Okay. My battery commander gives me the task. I'm a brand new second lieutenant. I want you to give a class on escape and evasion. What do I know about escape and evasion? I'm brand new, so I get up there and I'm talking to everybody in the outfit there. So I explain to them escape and evasion. You're caught behind the enemy lines. What do you do? Well, the first thing you do is get as dirty as you can. Make your face dirty, your hands dirty, okay? And
To blend in, you mean?
right,
Okay.
blend in, and try to make your way back to your organization. What did I know? I made things up as I was
Sounds
going.
reasonable, though. It sounds reasonable. It sounds very reasonable.
Yeah, it was fun.
So where were you when the war ended? Oh, it didn't-
Which one?
In Korea.
Oh, in Korea?
You left Korea before the war ended, right?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
And so did they offer you to re-up, to stay there, or how did that work? Why did,
Well, I was regular Army.
right,
So when I got back, 1952,
okay.
March of 52, I got orders to go down to Fort Bliss, Texas, to go to the Air Defense School to become a guided missile officer.
Wow.
Okay? So,
What is that in,
Fort Bliss, Texas.
so were you training?
So I trained to be a guided missile officer. I was a guided missile staff officer at Fort Totten, where 10 years before I was an enlisted man. Now I'm at the same headquarters with a different commanding general, but now I'm his advisor
Wow.
on guided missiles. So I was the guided missile staff officer for the Northeast
Wow.
region, Bridgeport, Hartford Defense, Boston, Providence,
Wow.
Maine, Loring, Maine, Thule, Greenland, and also Buffalo.
Now, what did that involve? What did you have to do?
I had to go and inspect, make sure that they were ready to engage targets. So I would go out, like Amityville, we had a missile outfit there. So I would get up and be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I'd say, blazing skies.
Why?
Okay. Battle station is the real stuff. Blazing skies is practice. So then they had to ready their equipment, get the missiles up, get the radars working. Okay. I would do that in New York, fly to Boston. After our son was born, my mother took care of her son, and my wife met me up in
Boston?
Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Met me up in Buffalo. She went on the Maid of the Mist. I never got to see anything. I was busy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
And then after I did 2 or 3 years there, then I went to Colorado Springs, and I became the guided missile staff officer for another headquarters.
wow.
My previous commanding general was a 2-star general. The one in
Buffalo or Colorado?
Colorado was a 3 or a 4-star general
Wow.
who had twin daughters.
You have such a good memory.
And I had to write a letter because there was a problem with the missiles. I had to write a letter from the 3 or 4-star general to the 2-star general, and I knew the nickname for the 2-star general. So his name was Burnell, but his nickname was Bunny when he was a cadet.
That's
So
funny.
I prepared the letter for General Hart, "Dear Bunny."
Yeah.
Okay. I went to turn it in, and he said, no. No, not him. The chief of staff says, no, you better change that. Dear General Burnell.
That's funny. Wow, so how long were you then in Colorado, or was that towards the end of your service?
3 years. And then they sent me down to, it wasn't the end of my service.
Oh.
They sent me down to Albuquerque, New Mexico to take a nuclear weapons assembly supervisor course, how to put nuclear bombs together.
Oh my gosh, wow.
So I was taking that, and it was a 13-week course, I believe, or 15-week course, and I got a notice from the Air Force up in Colorado Springs that they're going to be cutting off dependent travel to Europe. We were supposed to go to Europe.
Was your wife with you along all these trips?
Yes,
In
yeah.
Colorado, and she was with you?
No, she was in New York at this time.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Because I had sent her to New York. Okay, fine, very good. So now, what to do? I want to get out of there. Okay, so I go to the adjutant of the school, and I say, I want to go because I have orders to go to Germany, and they're cutting off the trip on October 10th or 12th.
What year are we talking now?
This is 1961.
Oh,
So he says, you have to take the end of course examination. We're not giving that. You got 2 more weeks to go. I said, I'll take the end of course. Nobody will pass. You can't pass. I said, give me the test. I'll pass. We'll go. So he gave me the test. I passed. I left.
was that the end?
I got into my car and I drove all the way to New York.
Wow, so that was the end of your service?
No,
No.
not yet. No.
Oh, okay.
No. Then I went up to her hometown, and I got the notice from. No, I knew they were cutting off the travel, so I called Washington
Why were they cutting off travel?
because of the Cuban crisis.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Cuban
They're
Missile
cutting
Crisis.
off travel. So I called Washington, D.C., and I asked them to move my date to fly to Europe to October 10th instead of October 12th. So they moved it. We went to Fort Dix, to McGuire Air Force Base, and we flew to Germany. When I got to Germany, I was supposed to be the nuclear weapons assembly supervisor, but in U.S. Army headquarters, there was a Colonel Barrett. He says, oh, wait a second. He says, that's Jack Hayne. He's a missile man. You don't want him to mess with that. We need someone in Oberammergau, where they have the Passion Play,
Okay, right.
to teach missiles down
Oh.
there. So
That's what you
we went
did?
there. And I ended up, that was my last tour, was to be an instructor in the school to teach nuclear weapons effects, nuclear weapons employment, air defense systems.
Wow.
And that was to general officers. We had a general officer course. We had a staff officers course. Then we had an employment course.
Wow. Did you enjoy doing that, teaching?
Oh, I loved it.
Did you?
I loved it.
So now what year did you leave the service?
January 31st, 1964.
64. How many years were you in total?
21 years. No, 19 years. No, I'm all confused.
Let's see. 43 to 64, 21.
21 years.
21 years. And you became a captain.
Yeah, I was a captain.
You were a captain.
I did not go into the reserve, so I stayed a captain.
Ah,
I know people who got out, stayed in the reserve, and they became a lieutenant colonel.
oh, I see, okay. So after 21 years, you were ready to leave
And went to work for Grumman Aerospace.
on Long Island?
Yes.
Here, okay. So how were you received by your family and community when you came home?
You mean from Korea?
Yes,
Okay. They met me at the airport, okay? And I got the chance to drive my brother-in-law's or my father-in-law's car. Now, in Korea, the roads are unimproved except in the city of Seoul. So all the time I was in Korea, I was traveling at 5, 10, 15, 20 miles an hour maximum, maybe 25. That's it. So here I'm driving from New York, from the airport, I guess, all the way up past West Point to the Borscht Belt, Mountaindale, New York, at 25 miles an hour. And they're sitting in the
jeez.
car, and they don't want to say anything to this combat veteran because it'll explode. All they had to do was say, hey, speed up.
oh, your family was in the car?
Yes, I had my wife, my father-in-law, I think I had the whole family in the car.
How was it readjusting to civilian life once you got out of the service completely? How was it readjusting?
So, I started at Grumman, okay? Yes, sir. No, sir. I called my boss, sir.
Yeah.
You don't do that in civilian life, okay? So
Took a
it
little
took
while.
me a while to call the vice president, Ed.
Okay.
By the way, he didn't like me.
Why?
I have no idea. But we went on a trip, a cruise, our first cruise, and I put someone else in charge. He lives in East Islip. He was in charge, and he had to give the briefings. And I gave him all the information for the briefings. And he said, where's Hayne? Okay. He said, well, he's on a cruise. Oh, it's Easter time. Yes, he took a vacation. He says, I guess they crucified the wrong Jew.
Oh my God.
I think Ed is a Sephardic Jew.
Wow. How awful. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Wow.
From then on out, I needle him.
I don't blame you. So, have you remained in contact with any fellow veterans?
Classmates, I have reunions every 5 years.
Do you? Nice.
Yes. But as far as people I served with, unless they were my classmate,
And what veterans organizations were you a member of, or are you a member of?
Jewish war veterans, Korean war veterans, Nassau chapter and Suffolk chapter,
Nice.
veterans of foreign wars, okay, DAV,
Nice.
disabled veterans. I don't belong to the American Legion.
No?
The commander gave me his card. I think he wants me to join.
I know they're always looking for members. American. But so, how do you think your wartime experiences affected your life?
I don't know. It really hasn't bothered me except for my bad knee.
Oh, it's still,
Oh, yeah.
really?
Walking down the hall,
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
every once in a while it would click.
So they didn't really fix it when you were in the when you had the accident. Is that from the
They
accident?
didn't want to operate. They needed a warm body.
What are some life lessons, Jack, that you learned from military service?
I don't know.
Okay. How do you think your military service impacted your feelings about war? and the military in general.
War is terrible. We shouldn't get into war. We should avoid war as much as we can. But when the time comes, if you're going to be in a war, hit them hard and fast.
Is that how you feel your service went when you were over there? You just went in and did it, and it.
Could you repeat that?
Is that how you feel when you were over? When you felt when you were over there, just to protect yourself and your platoon, just hard and fast.
You know, if MacArthur wanted us to go into China, we would have done it. But Truman was smart enough not to do it.
No. Now, what message would you like to leave for future generations who might hear this video?
Okay, for future generations, if at all possible, serve in the military, Army, Navy, Air Force, or the new Space Force. If not, what's that called where you go out to other countries?
Oh, the Peace Corps.
Peace Corps, so you can serve the better man. That's about the best advice I can give.
Nice. Is there anything we haven't covered or haven't discussed that you'd like to tell us?
I can tell you how come I grew up in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Okay. My father and mother, well, lived in East New York, okay, and they wanted a nice house. So they went to Brooklyn, and they walked down the street. They saw all these nice Jewish women sitting on the steps of the house, row houses. And they decided, we're going to buy that house. So they bought the house, and they moved in. They found out that those nice Jewish women were nice Italian women. So I grew up speaking Italian because Mrs. Graziano, 2 doors away, was my babysitter when my mother went back to East New York to see her friends, or down on the Lower East Side for more friends. So I learned from her because her grandmother, her mother, spoke no English.
Really?
Okay.
Well, so you learned Italian from them.
So and then when I learned swear words from the kids on the street. Then when I went into high school, I took Italian.
Nice.
And my teacher would say, "No, please." I said, "That's slang." Okay, because I was using slang. But other than that,
So
I
you're
lost my train of thought.
kind of bilingual, right? You learned
Pardon
Italian.
me?
You're kind of bilingual. You learned Italian.
Well, yes.
You know what?
I told my teacher I'm taking off next week. Is there any new assignment you're going to give? She said, "What do you mean taking off?" I said, "It's Jewish holidays. You can't take off." I said, "Why not? You're not Jewish." I said, "I am." The name is Hayne.
Right.
So I said, "No, I am Jewish."
Did you feel any discomfort in the military being Jewish? Was there any problem with that? With other people?
No, not in the military, no whatsoever. Only one time when I worked at Glen Martin Company when I was a civilian before the Army, and then at
Grumman?
at Grumman.
Really?
Yeah, that's it.
A little uncomfortable?
That was it.
Huh. Okay. Anything else? You got a lot of medals you showed me.
Yes.
Were the medals, what were some of the medals for?
For living so long.
Oh.
Well, you know, meritorious service. I set up the missile. I set up a survey where you can find the best radar sites in the United States. I set that thing up.
That was when? After, while you were stateside?
That's when I was at Colorado Springs.
Uh-huh. Wow. You've had quite a career in the military. And then how long were you at Grumman?
24 years.
Wow.
The fellow I worked with passed away, and I took over. And I loved working with him. And after he passed away, I just couldn't stay. I didn't want to stay for 25 years, so I retired in 24 years, and I didn't get the Grumman Gold Watch.
Oh. But that was a good enough long time.
Yes.
Anything else we haven't covered?
I can't think of anything.
Well, Jack, thank you. Thank you so much for all you did for us and for sharing it all. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. You did a fine interview.
Thank you.